Well, Coach, obviously you guys signed 16 guys on the offensive end. That has to make you happy, particularly at the receiver position. Can you talk about those guys and what they bring to the table?
Well, as I heard Coach say to you, as we as a staff evaluated our needs, one thing that was apparent is we needed some skill kids. I always call them playmakers, because as you watched us throughout the season, hopefully you saw we motion different people, and receivers become running backs become wide receivers. We put quarterbacks out of right. We do all of it, and we want to find playmakers, and so that was a big need. And I'm through transition over the course of the last couple of years, kids leaving and what have you. Well, so we made the decision we're going to go out and try to find the best kids we can that fit what we want to do. And, I'm very pleased. I think we found a very athletic group. I'm pleased with the speed. You always look for the speed, but it's a combination of things. Guys that are some length, guys that are some quickness. And as offensive coordinator, we'll try to use those guys in different ways. It's neat. This is my first year recruiting at Ferris, and it's neat. Every school does it differently. I've been a college football coach 20 years, and to see how Coach Pierce organizes things and has us do things, and how he does his home visits, I think that shows what a family type atmosphere we have. And I really am pleased, because I think this group of kids academically and athletically are going to be very successful here at Ferris State.
Coach talked a little bit about you guys going outside of the state to get some of your talent. How much of an advantage is that for you to expand your recruiting area, and has that opened up new opportunities to sign some kids that you normally wouldn't have that opportunity?
It's been my experience that every time there's staff transition, like Coach McGraw and myself were new this year, that opens up other doors for you to recruit. We obviously have connections and contacts in other places. I heard Coach talk about when we recruited Will Frazier. I recruited him hard last summer, and he decided to go to New Mexico State. But, the way Coach wants us to do things, the way I believe in doing things is, you always leave it with a kid in a positive way. You burn any bridges, and you don't upset people, and you wish them the best of luck. And guess what? Halfway through the season, he called and said, I want to transfer there and finish my last year. And, I said, well, we'll get a release, and we can talk and do all that stuff. And here he is. And I think he'll be a pretty good playmaker for us. I really do. I think Gary McGraw, our defensive back coach, did a heck of a good job in Illinois. Some of the more talented kids, when you test them like we do when we bring them on their visits, were the Illinois kids. I mean, they just jumped out at you in their height and weight and speed and athleticism and at all positions. And so that was huge for our program. And I can see, as a coach, you kind of get excited, because those things in the future, you can see how a kid's going to help. And then you start, one thing that Coach was adamant about in this class is he wanted character and grades, so we didn't have issues down the road, and these kids will be in the program for 5 years. And I don't think we're going to have those issues. We didn't take as much risk, and you always take a few risky borderline kids, but we didn't too much. It was, for the most part, it's a solid nucleus.
And, going along the same lines, the spread offense, did you recruit players from spread offenses in high school to make that transition a little bit easier for them in learning, and so that they don't have to pick up a new offense as much going into the college level?
No, not really. For example, our quarterback, Jason, he played in 3 different offenses the last 3 years, and we just try to find the best fit. We meet and talk football with kids, and I get up on the board and I show them how I envision using them here in our system. And a lot of times that excites them. They like, okay, he's already got a plan for me. And we try to do that with most of our kids. Sometimes, like with Jason, he just jumped out when he tested. I mean, he's bigger, stronger, and faster than. And we brought probably 20 quarterbacks on campus, just visiting and looking for one. We knew we wanted one, and he's the one we decided we wanted to offer, and he was the one that took it. And we're pleased with that. That shows a lot. You don't always get your first pick, and so we're pleased with that. And one, you can tell how bright he is. One question he asked, Coach and I went and watched him play basketball and met with him after when Coach offered him his scholarship, and him and his dad. Well, what if he's not the quarterback? Can he play play somewhere else, because he's the defensive MVP in their league, and he's the type of kid we'll find a spot for him someday on this football field.
Well, just looking at the spread system, having it 2 years in a row going on now, how much is that going to help to have that consistency going into the next season? That you can recruit kids for that system, but yet the people that are still here can improve and have playmakers around them.
Absolutely. I hope tremendously. We basically displayed most of the offense, but there's some things that we're going to start this spring of having some of our kids, some of our players do multiple things. Like, for example, we have 3 returning backs that played a lot. And those guys, I've told them all as I walk in the weight room and visit with them and stuff, I told them all, you have to know both positions, not just the F or the H. You've got to know both, because those are guys that we're going to move around. We got to pay a young man, Jace Hennefield, who plays tight end and slot. He was a high school quarterback. I told him today, I saw him in the weight room at lunchtime, and I said, Jace, I want you to know not only the tight end, not only the slot Y, not only the slot H, but I'm going to motion you and play fullback a little bit. And he's like, oh, that's cool. I like that. So it's me knowing our people a little bit better too. I just jumped on board here the end of March last year, and it's a learning curve, so to speak, of me learning our kids. And sometimes, usually, I'm more apt to pull back the reins and not do quite so much. And we should grow, I hope. And then, obviously, some kids of some talent, I want them to compete. These freshmen, we don't expect a lot of them to play, but we want them to compete and push these guys, because athletically, sometimes they're better in some spots. I know, wide receiver, we got some great kids, but there's a lot to learn. But the biggest thing I hope to finish answering your question is that now that the current players know me, know what I expect, and know our system, I want them to become teachers of these new guys, because that's where the biggest learning curve, if a Mike Ryan, a Damian Miller, start teaching these young guys, hey, this is how you play receiver, this is how you stick a route, this is what coach expects, this is the effort we need, that's when the whole offense picks up.
And then, like you said, talking to guys and saying, hey, you might have to play in a different position. How important is that to, get a bunch of team guys that are willing, whatever's best for the team, that's what we'll do?
I think we have a lot of that, whether it's through the process of Coach weeding some guys out over the years, what have you. But you look at Tommy Schneider playing fullback a year ago, and when I got here, I'm looking at film saying, what in the heck, But through injury, through whatever necessity, you sometimes put a fighter like he is in a spot that because you want him on that football field. And I think we're going to have a lot of that. You'll see more of it, and our system's not difficult to learn, but to learn multiple spots, that's where you start growing, and that's where a defense doesn't know what's going to happen necessarily. After about 6-7 weeks, they kind of knew which way we were going to run a reverse, or they knew which way we were going to do things. Well, that's okay. Sometimes, our guys are always coming off the sideline saying, oh, they know we're going to run a screen. And my first response is always, I don't care. If you execute at a high level, it doesn't matter. And I hope I drum that into their heads enough where it doesn't matter what they know, it's what you know and what you execute at a high level.
And then, like you're talking about Schneider, the experience he got last year, what do you see in him maybe in the offseason right now where you're thinking, this guy's really going to progress next year? Well,
in my opinion, and to be honest with you, I held back a lot of his running abilities until the end of the season. If you look at the stats, you'll see that, once we started playing Finley and towards the end, we started running him a little bit more because I didn't want to get him hurt. We didn't have a lot of depth at quarterback last year, and we had a redshirt freshman as the backup. And now we'll have a bunch of people competing. The coach mentioned the competition going on at quarterback, and that's going to be fun this spring. Tommy might be upset, but I may say, you're not going today. I want to look at these other guys. And I haven't told him that, so don't tell him. But I want those other guys to compete. But Tom is a special young man. He's a unbelievable combination of competitiveness and toughness that you don't find all the time. And he's got a great work ethic. And I didn't even mention probably his best quality is his intelligence. And then if you put it all together, he's a special player. I hope my goal in the whole big picture of things as I evaluated last spring and then going into the fall was, look, I want to develop him as a passer. I felt that he had the gifts as a runner. His confidence was in his ability to run. I wanted to develop his ability as a passer. So hopefully his senior year, he's both. That's whether it happens or not, I don't know, but that's the goal of the whole thing, is trying to make him as complete a player as possible. One thing I told him after the season, I had an end of the year meeting with him, I said, I want you to be able to buy time in the pocket and create plays with your feet like you always do, but also buying time and creating plays. Big passes happen when you scramble around. He has the... Because he's so good at it, he takes off all the time. And he makes a lot of big plays doing that. But I want him to also be able to scramble around a little bit and throw out an old name, Fran Tarking, in it, and try to make big plays by buying time. Because a lot of DBs jump up, and there goes some home runs that we ain't got there yet.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.